final year of his contract. What's the sentiment inside the locker room, and what do you tell people who are wondering about whether McCarthy will be your coach next year?
That's above my pay grade about if Mike is coaching again next year. All coaching aside, Mike can leave and go wherever he wants, but the guys I kind of feel bad for is guys like Zach Martin and guys who might be on their last year or on their way out. That's who I wanted to hold the trophy for. You want to win games and do great things with those type of legends who put in more time and work than Mike McCarthy ever did.
I'm not going to sit here and do Micah Parsons dirty like ESPN did yesterday morning. I played the full clip for you guys for a reason, because I think it's important to understand the full context. It's important to understand that Micah Parsons, he didn't just go out of his way to throw Mike McCarthy under the bruise caboose. He didn't have to go out of his way to do it because he was literally asked about it. Either way, my outlook on this situation has not changed. I don't care what his intent was. I know Mike McCarthy and Micah Parsons have both come out publicly and said, "It wasn't my intent. I spoke with my soon-to-be fired coach. We're best friends now. We're besties. I love you. You love me. We're the worst team in the league. We've got no quarterback and our pass rush is doo-doo. When we had Dak, we sucked too." I don't care what Micah Parsons' intent was. It doesn't matter what his intent was. When I saw these comments on ESPN out of context, when I saw the comments in full context, my thoughts were the exact same. Do the Dallas Cowboys have a coaching problem? Sure. Do the Dallas Cowboys have a quarterback problem? Obviously. Matter of fact, I would argue that the quarterback problem is bigger than the coaching problem, because you can't get rid of your quarterback because your dumbass owner just made him the highest paid player in the league. But the Cowboys, they have a far bigger problem than Dak Prescott. The problem is bigger than Mike McCarthy. This is a problem that I would imagine has been building for a very long time. This isn't something that just suddenly comes out in a post-game Micah Parsons interview. That clip of Micah Parsons, that is the symptom to the overall problem. If I had to guess, Micah Parsons, he was just speaking publicly about what the locker room has been saying privately for months, maybe even years now. The Dallas Cowboys have a problem that can be very difficult to solve because the Cowboys, they have a culture problem. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. If you happen to stumble across this video, be sure to check out my main channel, Behind the Line. If you search Behind the Line here on YouTube, should be the first channel that comes up. If there's anyone who knows about incompetence, if there's anyone who knows about bad coaching, it's Uncle KC. For the last 3 or 4 years, I have had the distinct frustration of watching two of the worst coaches in their respective leagues. Matter of fact, these are the worst coaches in their respective leagues, with one of them being the worst head coach in the history of professional sports, Dennis Allen, and the ultimate weasel, Willie Green. One of the organizations in New Orleans, they can fire their head coach and it solves their biggest problem. The other organization, they can fire their head coach and things might get better temporarily, but the underlying problems still exist. After last season, Brandon Ingram, he told the media in New Orleans that the Pelicans, they were winning games based on talent alone. Translation, our coach sucks. Our coach is incompetent. And he's right. He is absolutely right. Willie Green is the worst coach in the NBA. But firing Willie Green, that does not magically fix the problem because the Pelicans have a culture problem. Saints, on the other hand, they didn't have a culture problem. The Saints had a coaching problem. If you go back the past 2 years and you listen to post-game interviews with Alvin Kamara and other leaders in New Orleans for the Saints, the interviews all sound the same. Even though they probably wanted to, they never publicly blasted Dennis Allen. These guys are too smart for that. These guys learned from Sean Payton and Drew Brees. It's okay for fans to shit on the coach, but as a player, You never want to do that publicly. Alvin Kamara, he would drop hints. He would let you know that there was a problem with Denise without letting you know there's a problem. Alvin Kamara would say things like, "We are playing for each other. As players, we believe in each other." That's a subtle way of saying, "We don't believe in Captain Doofus." Now, why would Alvin Kamara approach a bad situation this way? Maybe that's what he was taught. Maybe the culture that Sean Payton, Drew Brees built was so strong, the foundation of that culture is still there even after they're both long gone. They don't have that same luxury in Dallas. As a player, Micah Parsons, one of the best in the league. But let me ask you something. What head coach will want to coach him now? What coach in the league wants to work with Micah Parsons now? As soon as we go on a losing streak, are you going to humiliate me publicly? Are you going to blame organizational issues on me as a coach? When I saw the clip yesterday, it reminded me of something that Terrell Owens used to do. In his prime, Terrell Owens, best receiver in the league. But most teams, they didn't want to deal with him. Why? Distractions, locker room problems. He divided the locker room in Philadelphia. Dude could not get along with Andy Reid, who's probably one of the easiest coaches in the NFL for players to get along with. No one has ever had a bad thing to say about Andy Reid. There is no doubt Mike McCarthy, his ass is going to be fired at the end of the season, if not before. But who can Jerry Jones get to clean up this mess in Dallas? Who can Jerry Jones get who will be willing to deal with all his bullshit? Some people are claiming that it could be Deion Sanders. Do I think Deion Sanders could clean up the culture in Dallas? Probably, maybe. Do I think he's ready? No. Do I think he's willing? Do I think he's willing to put in the hours that it takes to be a head coach in this league? No. Do I think Deion Sanders wants to work 20 hours a day? Do I think he wants to sacrifice time with his kids? Do I think Deion Sanders wants to miss the NFL debut of his son? No and no. I don't know if there's a coach in the league that can clean up the problems in Dallas. In most cases, when you have a culture problem, it starts at the top. My Pelicans have a culture problem. They have deep organizational issues. Where does it start? It starts in the front office and it bleeds into the locker room. The Pelicans have a culture of complacency. There is no hierarchy. There's no accountability. Now, I don't follow the Cowboys enough to know what the exact problem is, whether it's lack of accountability, whether it's a locker room that's turned against their head coach. But I would be willing to bet the problems in Dallas, they start with Jerry Jones. This franchise, it's had a lot of the same problems for the last 30 years. The one guy that was able to solve those problems, his ass was pushed out of the organization after he won back-to-back Super Bowls. Do the Cowboys have a culture problem? Even worse, do the Cowboys have an ownership problem? Will other head coaches be hesitant to take this job in Dallas because they not only have to deal with Jerry Jones, they also have to deal with Micah Parsons potentially calling them out publicly? You tell me. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys on the main channel.